Hello, my name is Ana Rubio. I'm a PPI lead for Skin, and today I will be talking about data conversations. So thank you very much, Research Data Scotland, for inviting me to this workshop and to talk about this project. Um, so data conversations, I think I'm going to share my slides. So data conversations come from Skin, which is a project that is collecting retinal images and building a repository of retinal images by linking them with health data to advance research in eye conditions, cardiovascular disease, and systemic conditions. In this project, we wanted to start with a really simple question. What does data mean? Here's the thing, when we often use the word data, we use it as, is it neutral, is it fixed, is it obvious? But actually, it doesn't. So think of it like this. I'm going to do a game with you. When I say the word dog, what comes to your mind? For example, for me, it comes the Labrador that my parents used to have, or it could be a drawing for you, or it can be this still image and how when you learn to say dogs are not allowed. So we normally use data the same way. Same word, completely different mental picture. So even though we are thinking, maybe we're thinking the same person is thinking the same as us, in reality, each person's mind can be wildly different. And that's why we wanted to start here, to open up the conversation and explore the different way people think about data before jumping into more complicated discussions or questions about data, and especially health data. The goal of this project was never to reach a final answer. It was simply to open the conversation. We wanted to create a space where people across different generations could reflect on what health data actually means to them, not by text definitions, but by the lived experience, by their experience of it. And part of this it was like also bringing researchers and the public to the same place. The project was about dialogue and curiosity, and it was not intention to create a consensus. It was just opening the floor, opening the door. Data conversations was structured in three phases. The first phase was cultural prompts. Here we develop or we deliver to the addresses creative tasks that participants completed at their own time, like photography, drawings, and journaling, to reflect on what data means to them before we can all come together to the second phase, which is the phase two, the in-person workshop. In this second phase, we had a workshop in Aberdeen where participants shared reflections, explored health data collectively, and heard directly from a student research team about what health data is. The third phase was an online follow-up session, bringing participants back together to reflect on the project and also help shape the findings and recommendations you will see today. Each phase built on the last one, moving from individual reflections to collective dialogue to a shared learning. Data conversations wasn't designed by researchers alone. It was co-developed from the very beginning with the SCOON PPI group, our patients and our public contributors in SCOON. Before the project started, the PPI members received training on retinal imaging, on SCOON's data governance, so they could engage confidently and meaningful. Also, we were working on different aspects with SCOON and the PPI contributors, but with more of our work, we saw the importance of developing more public engagements that came from SCOON. So the modeling followed core principles of co-production, sharing power, valuing diverse perspectives and knowledge, and building genuine relationships. These tables show you what actually looked like in practice across every stage of the project, from the initial conception and funding proposals, also throughout the design and also delivering and dissemination. They were also facilitators of the both of the workshops that we held. So the reason that I want to show you this is how co-development looks in practice. So in the first phase, which are cultural props originally come from research design. The idea isn't to collect neat answers, it's to spark reflections and sometimes a little bit of provocation. You will see some examples later. Normally, these cultural props take a form of creative disc. They contain photography, short diary notes, drawing, collage. The point is to help to pause and to help the participant or the person to reflect on their own reflections. So that openness and that creativeness makes it really powerful. In this project, in data conversations, we designed 8 hands-on tasks, co-created with the SCOON PPI group and also the SCOON researchers and a professional designer. So rather than asking people what they know about data, what definition they had, we asked them to experience it. We asked them to go and photograph it, draw it, reflect it, spend it, and thinking about it, like kind of like food for thought. I'm going to show some pictures of the package that we gave them. It's some examples. I didn't put all of them. So, for example, we ask, what is data? So when you hear the word data, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? For me, is numbers. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. Then we ask them to use a Play-Doh and create a shape that represents their health data. So it was quite interesting, the different figures and the sculptures they created and how diverse they were. Also, another task would be like tick all the boxes that apply to you, and then we ask them how they relate to health data or to data in general. So if they were a smartwatch or fitness tracker, they would have to click yes or still could yes. And another task, this one is really interesting as well, is that we ask them how much each of these images look like data. And each of these images were developed with SCOON researchers and represents a different cycles of the data in SCOON. So when it's initially collected to when it's like a link to health data, all these images are made up examples with the help with the data scans. These are not completely real. We just put something together on how they look like for data scientists or for the researchers in SCOON. Another one is like what health data has been collected from their bodies as well, and how they have seen that. So those are some of the activities. After they answered the cultural probes, we invited them to an in-person workshop in Aberdeen. The workshop brought together 17 participants across two generations, 18 to 25 and aged 50 and above. Here, the goal was to create a space for meaningful engagement with health data, particularly for people who have not been previously involved in data science or health researchers, and also haven't discussed health data with another generation. So we intentionally mix the groups at each table, two young people with two older participants to foster dialogue across generations and to allow diverse and different perspectives to be shared. Um, the agenda of the workshop, we had different activities. The workshop consisted of a series of interactive activities, also conversations, presentations, and yeah, the idea was to explore how each of us understand data, but also how do we what we put in our cultural props. So we did a word map exercise. School researchers came and present some real examples of how the data shifts during collection, analysis, and curation in school, and we have small group discussions. And then we have our online workshop. This workshop consisted, well, it was more kind of a online follow-up session, and it was designed not just a closing activity, but as more as a genuine moment of reflection. Seven participants came back together, and we had also public contributors from SCOON. We reviewed what we saw and we discussed last time, and we also discussed what had shifted and what felt more significant. At the same time, we developed recommendations after this in this online workshop and after all the discussions from the project. And these recommendations came directly from participants. This is their voice and not a SCOON, and always it's an interaction of both. So during the final session, we reflected on what could have helped them engage better with health data. So these are recommendations to researchers to use when they're talking about health data, specifically retinal images. And also, as part of the workshop, we ran informal surveys before and after the session. This wasn't formal research, it was simply a way to capture whether something has shifted in how participants understood data, how much they trusted researchers, and how comfortable they felt with their health data being used. So this is kind of like more the overall workshop and what happened during the workshop with participants and with us. So for example, here is the question was understanding of data. The understanding of data increased from 72 to 83. Trust to handle personal data, even though they already trust healthcare staff. After the workshop, they trust them more. And also with researchers, they trust them more. They went to 80% of the trust. And trust to share health data with, for example, private companies, which are really like, you can see that people do not trust private companies. Even that increased the trust with private companies. And I'm not saying this is something good or bad. I'm just saying like this is kind of like the shifted, the changes in perspectives after the workshop. So there are many takeaways about this project, but the one that right now I want to focus, because I have limited time, is about care. Many of the participants care or felt care throughout the project, from receiving the package to the workshop in a in-person workshop in Aberdeen to the online workshop, and that they reflected that sometimes, or it happens a lot of the times, in projects, in health data projects like SCOON, that care is not visible, but they realize that care is there all the time. Care is when the scientists in the school protect their private the information. They follow the strict guidelines, which are really messy and difficult to navigate, and they follow strictly to protect their privacy and to protect their personal information, and also to advance the research of different conditions that their loved ones have or they have. So care was kind of visible in the project, and they mentioned that public engagement like data conversations make that care visible in projects like SCOON. So thank you very much for having me, and it has been a pleasure to be here. So any questions, please let me know, and I can share all these later on.